late hour is the point where you can really persuade, cajole, and inspire the people you need to inspire to create the new dawn for the new world. In the Christmas of 1941, there he was at the White House, and he was trying to convince the President of America that we had to focus on Europe before Asia. And of course, it was in those late hours that he persuaded the great President Roosevelt. I think there's no greater moment than the night before the D-Day landings that gave us all our freedoms we enjoy today. He was dining alone with his wife Clementine in the war rooms, very nervous and concerned about the difficulties ahead. But it's no less than 4 or 5 days later when he landed on D-Day +5, and he went to Cherbourg. And there he is. He arrives in his French fisherman's cap. He's sitting in the car. Cherbourg has just surrendered, and the French dock worker leans over and relights his cigar, and the sense of satisfaction. And so I would argue that the work that he always put into those late hours greatly contributed to the success, whether it was military, literary, or just debating important issues with his key advisors. He was brilliant at gathering people together. He was a great raconteur. He drew great inspiration from people, but in a way that others couldn't. He was able to give the nation heart, and he was able to give the nation leadership. People said that he had the lion's heart, and he of course said, when in fact he was just fortunate that the nation had called upon him at that hour. He said, "We are all worms, but I do believe I am a glowworm." And dinner was the time when he started to glow. He'd had the strength and support of those around him, family, good conversations. And the whole point of good conversations is you match things up in the right way, you understand things, rather like the way you match a cigar up with a good whiskey or a nice champagne at the end of the day. The late hours and the dark hours was when Churchill was his most productive in life, and he was never without the cigar. The cigar was always so much. You can't take a picture of Churchill without a cigar. There's barely a photograph out there without Churchill with a cigar. And it's fair to say that the cigar was his constant companion and friend. And he found it was a great way to relax and to just draw the best inspiration from people. And this wonderful chair, it has wonderful crinkles and creases and so much personality. This is the chair where Churchill enjoyed coming to enjoy cigars when he was selecting those that would go into his humidor. And it's a wonderful link with history that still continues to this day. There's a lovely quote: "I am always satisfied with simple things, just the very best." And of course that was in terms of cigars, or whether it was the Paul Roger champagne. Looking at the cigar I've got today, it's beautifully formed. What I rather like is the darker tobacco leaf. And of course these wonderful and beautiful cigars have actually been aged in a whiskey vat. That would have been greatly enjoyed by my great-grandfather. It would have given me huge pleasure to think that this great product has this great character of having been in aged whiskey. It's almost bringing the perfect infusions together. He loved giving people cigars, and I think a great story that really typifies that is in 1941, when Adolf Hitler made the grave mistake of attacking Russia. Churchill is woken up by his butler Sawyers at 4 o'clock in the morning. to be told that Hitler has tried to invade Russia, and a smile goes across Churchill's face. He's fully awake, and the next instructions he gives to Soares is, please awake the Foreign Secretary, Anthony Eden. He gives Soares, he gets a cigar out of his humidor, places it on Soares' silver tray, and Soares goes to announce the move that happened and delivers it to Anthony Eden at sort of 4:15 in the morning. The silver tray arrives, and after the news has been imparted, Soares says, this is with the cigar is with the compliments of the Prime Minister. So the gift of cigars was such an important thing. And I find it wonderful to think at 4 o'clock in the morning, if you want to give somebody an appropriate gift, a gift of cigars is the highest accolade you can have. Once Churchill got into his cigars, he seemed like a steam locomotive going up a steep incline. He was puffing away like crazy with total happiness. His happiest moments was when he had friends, family, colleagues around him, enjoying good conversation, a glass of whiskey and a fine cigar. This cigar has real character, crispness, and I've got no doubt that Churchill would have enjoyed it greatly.